haircut.
Anyway, you got me by surprise. Thank you. Thank you. I hope so. BBI okay. BBI fine.
Great. You know, there's nothing like freedom.
Okay.
Like there's freedom in the air. And I keep telling myself one of the worst experiences in life is when fellow man stops you from doing the desires of your heart. And therefore incarceration will be very painful. Going to prison will be very painful. So everybody is excited. Economic activities are beginning to resume. People are getting things to buy, and there is euphoria in the air, and I'm excited about it.
It looks like there is some sort of relief in the air, and people are so excited. People are happy about the fact that they are out after 3 weeks of partial lockdown.
If you've been hospitalized before, I remember when I was in intensive care.
Okay.
And eventually, I was discharged from the hospital. Like the world felt like heaven to me.
Okay.
Yeah, freedom is important, and I'm happy His Excellency was bold and decisive to, you know, ease this lockdown, which was causing so much pain to the ordinary
I think I should congratulate you on that, because you've been very consistent with a sort of stand, and then the decision you took in case of you campaigning for the lockdown to be lifted or the ban to be lifted. But as we speak, the president still tells us that the ban on public gathering, parties, funerals, etc., are still in session, and so that's we must be able to adhere to the directives.
I agree
and
with
then your take on that briefly, and then let's look at the impact of what is going to happen next.
You saw His Excellency didn't speak Friday night. He didn't speak Saturday night. And even with the video editing, you can sense that it was done in a little bit of a rush. I'm told there were some repetitive segments to the same speech and all that. Kwame.
So now we agree to the fact that the president's speech was a recorded one.
Yes, certainly.
Because most often the defense has been that it's a live speech that the president delivers. But we are all agreeing to the fact that what we saw on Sunday night or on the eve of Sunday was a recorded version of the president's speech.
No two ways about that. Even in the United States, sometimes when it is wartime, I remember recently I was watching Franklin Roosevelt after Pearl Harbor was hit by Japan. He was at Congress to make a case for America to go to war against Germany. And that was the serious or earnest commencement of the Second World War. But apart from that, you can find Ronald Reagan, George Bush Sr., Jr., Obama. It's standard practice that depending on the time you would want to address the nation, a recording can be done. But Kwame, what is important for us to note is that as a leader, the buck stops with you. I understand health professionals have issues. Your Excellency, this is too early or too fast and all that. But eventually, His Excellency has to look at the suffering of the ordinary people. So I agree that we are taking quite a presumptuous step. But it is necessary for us to go back to normalcy. For how long will we change our way of life because of a virus? So I commend His Excellency for taking such a bold step.
The aftermath of what we have seen after Sunday's address to the nation, what is going to happen, and then how should people begin to behave as well as do their things properly to be able to prevent themselves from contracting
Kwame, the wholesale cessation to economic activities was in itself a mistake. A plumber who comes to this office to do plumbing work, what overcrowding happens as a result of plumbing work? Or you have a problem with your satellite dish, somebody has to come and put it right. Or a carpenter has to deliver furniture. So right from the get-go, or a shoe shine, a cobbler who is working on a pair of shoes, this has nothing to do with overcrowding or congestion. So because we didn't have the complement of itemizing or categorizing or classifying what work caused lack of social distancing and all, everybody was made to suffer the brunt of a cessation to economic activities. So now that His Excellency has given the opportunity for people to go out and work, and the only challenge we have has been with the markets.
Okay,
and I'm
so
sure
just hold on for me for some few minutes, and then let's listen to the aspect of the president's address where he announced the lifting of the ban, and then let's come back to the discussion.
Ghana mampanin na Dr. Kufuor enra edai dia to Ghana fo nyina enim se Oba enkran tema kasoa ni kumase a eye enhye ya ye de to so sem obi nko bi emma je se onipa kro dwumedi a okodi no sebe eho hia yi pa no nipa no etime kodi sa adwuma no eno nkwa na kwan da ho nanso so ni nyina mu na wotwe miensa entem no panifo a muti ho abobe wa eye coronavirus emo wo mutime sua no ho niam kakra du akire hu se bebi edu no eho behia sempo ebeyi eye tabon no afiri so na Ghana fo wo sa miam ya hodo no omo ho timi ha wa makọ akpa asomdwe mu ni nyina mu no enche se aboa no wagya yen ahwiye ene ese Ghana fo nyina eya sede omampani akyekire mu enra ebra woni Ghana fo ehwe nkomo no sei ene ode tudwa.
I've taken the decision to lift the 3-week-old restriction on movements in the Greater Accra metropolitan area and Kasoa, and the Greater Kumasi metropolitan area and its contiguous districts, with effect from 1 a.m. on Monday, 20th April. In effect, tomorrow, we'll see the partial lockdown in Accra and Kumasi being lifted. I must make it clear at the outset that lifting these restrictions does not mean we're letting our guard down. All other measures are still firmly in place. For the avoidance of doubt, the earlier measures announced on Wednesday, 15th March, which have been extended, are still very much in force and have not been relaxed. I'm demanding even greater adherence to these measures. In here, I'm referring to the suspension of all public gatherings, including conferences, workshops, funerals, parties, nightclubs, drinking spots, beaches, festivals, political rallies, religious activities, and sporting events. All educational facilities, private and public, are to remain closed. Businesses and other workplaces can continue to operate, observing staff management and workplace protocols with a view to achieving social distancing and hygiene protocols. Operators of public transport, including our buses, trotros, and taxis, are to continue to run with a minimum number of passengers, as they have been doing for the last 3 weeks, in maintaining social distancing. They must also continue to ensure the maintenance of enhanced hygienic conditions in all vehicles and terminals by providing, amongst others, hand sanitizers, running water, and soap for washing of hands. Domestic airlines are required to...
So that is a bit of what the president said on Sunday. And so that is what we are discussing this morning. And then the aftermath of it, how things are going to be, how people are going to take precautions of the series of protocols that we've been issued, and then how people are going to take good care of their very own health to prevent themselves from getting the disease. And that is what we are discussing on the public interest. So this is what the president said upon lifting the ban on, how do you call it, partial lockdown. He still admonished that we should be very careful the way we go about our things. The ban on public gathering as well as churches and all of that is still in place. So what do we have to do as people moving out to do our daily shows? What are we supposed to do to be able to prevent some of these things?
Kwame, naturally, people actually don't really move out. And you can see the streets are
because of the disease.
Yes, yes. And again, when a person moves out of their gate, there must be a reason you are moving out. Nobody moves out without any reason. That is why we have fundamental human rights. It is an inalienable right that you have to move to and fro wherever you want, for as long as that does not cause harm to your next door neighbor or the person that is in your immediate ecosystem. So this is a fundamental human right. And failure to recognize this will be a serious disregard for the well-being of the people in any country. Lagos, for example, how do you put the whole of Lagos under lockdown? The revenue in Lagos is like some other countries' GDP. Yeah, so Nigeria is hurting, Ghana is hurting, and I believe that nobody wants to be imprisoned and then you are given a little reprieve and you'd want to go back to imprisonment. And I'm told the government has indicated if people don't adhere to the WHO, recommendations of social distancing, perhaps we could be in a worse lockdown
Yes,
than the one we
but the question is
experienced.
that how do we enforce that? Because we are told that people should adhere to that particular protocol. But how do we ensure? Because even under the lockdown situation, we saw marketplaces where people, especially our market women, were finding it difficult to at least respond to that particular protocol. And then we've seen our trotros back on their roads, and then how the drivers and then the maids are loading their cars. How do we ensure? It is whose responsibility to ensure that these things are working effectively in the marketplaces. As well, you go to the corporate offices, the banks and all of that. Probably you may think they are more of elite people, so they may be able to practice that. But what about the ordinary people? Who is to ensure that we keep up with such protocol?
Kwame, both formal people in the formal sector and those in the informal sector, thank God the media has partnered government in raising awareness about the fatality of this virus. If you go to a provision store to buy a soft drink, you ask for what you want, the woman reaches for it from the fridge, gives it to you, takes her money. This is no breach of social distancing. The only challenge we have is with the markets.
Okay.
And His Excellency indicated that the municipal assemblies and district assemblies continue to have the right to put the necessary measures in place to make sure that social distancing will be done in the markets. And just when this was announced, a major market in Kumasi was shut down. So I believe at that level that can continue. But it doesn't mean, Kwame, that the shoe shine or cobbler should stop working, because the markets are a bit rowdy.
You know, we have certain areas in Accra where, especially even if you're applying that particular route, you see a lot of human traffic. For instance, if you go to, La Paz, and then you are crossing from Papaye to the other side of the road, which is Las Palmas, you could see the sort of human traffic that builds up for people to be able to cross when the traffic lights are on. You could see all these things. And then you could see during the rush hour how people are in a rush to go board their vehicles, especially the trotros and all of that. Now, in doing all of this, those places are not marketplaces or open space where people are doing that sort of trading. But you see people moving up and down in all those instances.
Yes,
how do we ensure that in some areas of that nature?
Kwame, Denmark has lifted the stand. The hardest hit, Italy, has lifted the stand. Wuhan, where the thing came from. China is even accepting flights from around the world. So the world has to come to terms with the fact that life should still go on. And again, there was a lot of misinformation because COVID has become an industry for some people to profiteer from. Like, people relish the idea of keep people under lockdown, people are hiking prices, like somebody is profiting from this thing.
Okay.
So some people are not happy, Kwame, that economic activities are gradually resuming. And again, the fact that I have the virus and I have a contact with you crossing the road together doesn't mean automatically you will be infected. And science has proven
body-to-body contact is one of the best ways that you can get
Kwame,
the disease.
We've been told that continuous, encounter with a person infected is what transfers the virus. I was on a different channel, and a neurologist was a co-panelist. And then they tested me. He shook hands with somebody who was also on set. And then, lo and behold, there was a transfer of germs from him to the guy, but it wasn't to me. And so it doesn't, it's just like HIV/AIDS when it came in the 80s. People thought, no. And the stigma surrounding this virus. So I believe that with time, Kwame, people will realize that this is just, an unexpected disruption to our lives. And it doesn't mean the whole of the year should continue around COVID. And my advice to government is this. Government made promises to the people of this country. And in the last budget, we were told this year would be the year of roads.
Yeah.
Road constructions should continue.
But we are using the money to fight against COVID-19.
Yes, that is why I'm saying we are draining the national kitty.
So we should stop fighting the COVID-19 and use it for the ones that the government plan in that budget.
No, the 1 billion, we are getting a lot of relief from the IMF.
Yes, 500 million.
So whatever is planned for our developmental good as a country should resume. And I believe the patching of roads, construction of new ones, facilities that are needed
the
to make life
argument is that after doing all of that, and then you lose your citizens, you lose a lot of people dying out of COVID-19.
How many people have you lost? Kwame, how many people have you
lost?
Lost
about 9.
Do you know how many people Ghana lost in the course of the 3 weeks? If not hundreds, maybe thousands.
But every life matters.
Every life matters, but a life lost to COVID-19 is not more precious than a life lost to meningitis. So, Kwame, I would urge people, decision makers, to curtail the foreign influence in some of the decisions they make for us. Every country is unique and peculiar.
Okay.
And I believe that His Excellency read between the lines and took this decisive decision.
In the President's address, he initiated that, he actually stated that in areas where he realized that the pandemic is becoming serious and people are refusing to adhere to the protocols, those specific areas will be under lockdown. Your take on that particular one?
Kwame, you see, there is a little bit of misinformation.
Okay. About what?
The 60,000 or so, almost 70,000 tests that have been done. It is out of these numbers that you hear that, okay, we are at 683 today. We are at 1,024 tomorrow. The masses who were kept, like over 8 million people, you and I were doing the statistics the other day.
Okay.
These 4 areas, Accra, Kumasi, Tema, and Kaswa, they are the most thriving economic zones we have in the country now, and the most densely populated. I haven't been tested for the while that I was under lockdown. Millions haven't been tested. And so intensify mass testing, concentrate on healing or treating people who are infected rather than adopting this wholesale punishment. These areas literally became open prisons. And it wasn't necessary in the first place.
Okay.
So I believe it is important that...
A lot of Ghanaians equally raised the concern that instead of the president consulting the professionals, or probably say the medical practitioners, before announcing the lifting of the ban and before telling Ghanaians to come out of their rooms, he rather lifted the ban before he met with them yesterday, and that raises a lot of concern. So based on which facts did the president lift the ban?
Chronology is not important.
What is important now? Because based on the experts' advice, that is where the president takes his decisions.
Do you know a commander can have soldiers fire the first shots before he declares war? Japan hit the US before war was declared. And so sometimes you have to, sift through the noise and take a decision because you are the leader. It's just like the head of a family.
Okay.
When you have to listen to every voice in the family, no decision will be taken. So we appreciate the Ghana Medical Association. Healthline workers were treated as heroes and heroines, and we continue to hold them in high esteem. But Kwame, for how long will we reduce hard-working Ghanaians who want to step out of their homes, work and feed their families, reduce them to 400,000 hot meals you and I didn't see during the period of the lockdown? Have you heard anybody say, come share food to us in the past 24 hours? People are used to working and taking care of themselves and their families.
Okay.
So I shudder to think of any logic that will emanate from asking us to go back into the lockdown. And if you're a medical doctor and we held you in high esteem and continue to, it doesn't mean we should be under lockdown forever. We have other things to do in life.
Okay.
And so it is important that we rally behind the decision that has been taken by His Excellency the President while we take the needed precautions to remain safe.
Let me say a very big thank you to you, and then also say that we will continue with this particular discussion on Thursday to look at the pros and the cons and to see the effect on businesses even whilst the businesses resume. And so thank you very much for coming today. Abusia, Mami Enchame Hosima Embra Yaba Yabetua so Edi Nkomo. Yabasisia.